There is a bipartisan effort, don't be startled, a bipartisan effort on Capitol Hill to ban lawmakers from trading stocks. The bill, introduced by Texas Republican Chip Roy and Virginia Democrat Abigail Spanberger, now has 50 co-sponsors, basically from across the ideological spectrum. CBS News producer Rebecca Kaplan sat down with both lawmakers to talk about their proposal.
Our proposal is very straightforward. It says that members of Congress, their spouses, and their dependent children should not be permitted to buy or sell individual stock or maintain that individual stock during their time in Congress. If they are elected to Congress and they have such holdings, they can put it into a blind trust or they can move it into a mutual fund or an ETF. Our goal here is to make sure that when lawmakers are casting votes or getting briefings, that the American public knows that we are thinking first and foremost about the needs of our constituents, and that there's not even the possibility or the perception that we may be putting our financial interests first.
All we're asking is that if you take this job, you come to Washington, you're not engaging in the active trading of securities while you're voting on the very measures that might impact the profitability or the trajectory of those companies. It may or may not. Some of my colleagues I hear say, oh, well, how much evidence is there of insider trading? That's not really what this is about.
You talked about insider trading, which was the subject of the 2012 Stock Act, which banned insider trading for members of Congress. And so now it seems like there's this movement saying that doesn't go far enough. But Congressman Roy, it sounds like what you're saying is this is almost a completely separate issue from insider trading.
Well, I happen to view it separately. I want the American people to look at that debate and know that we're trying to decide what is in the best interest of the country and the future competitive landscape and the free flow of ideas and protection of free speech.
And even in the day-to-day, what is outside of actual, insider trading, we have a lot of information related to what's happening in the world, the trajectories of various different industries. We take a lot of votes that could move markets. And so it is important that we actually just even remove the potential possibility of corruption or the perception of corruption, so that while our constituents may agree or disagree with us on policy and our votes, they cannot think that we're motivated by our own stock portfolio, because we're saying, we're going to remove that discussion from the table.
So I'd like to hear what sets your proposal apart from some of the other ones floating out there, like the Ban Conflicted Trading Act, which would ban trades and sales of individual stocks, as well as prevent members of Congress and senior staff from serving on corporate boards. You guys have focused on the blind trust angle of this. Why is that the right approach here?
The important element that sets our bill apart from other versions is that includes spouses and dependent children. We want to have a piece of legislation that not only ensures that members of Congress are not buying and selling stocks so that we can affirm that level of trust to the American people, but we also want to ensure that our legislation doesn't have gaping loopholes whereby members of Congress can have their spouses execute the day-to-day trades, or even trust in their children's names that are not blinded executing those day-to-day trades. It's an important element of our legislation, and certainly one that I think is non-negotiable.
I think we agree that we don't think it should apply to staff. Look, we can fire staff. We can deal with staff issues if we see something where there's a concern. But I think for those of us who actually have an election certificate and we raise our hand and we swear an oath to the Constitution, we're just asking for some simple boundaries to just provide some real trust in the American people about what we're doing.